Reason 985 million why I love the Micro Four Thirds system, OpenGate. What is OpenGate and how can it benefit you? And here are 3 ways why I use it and love it. And you probably should too. So what is OpenGate? It means that you are filming on the full size of your sensor. So in Micro Four Thirds, you will get the full 4:3 image quality when you shoot video. Now, it's not really a file format ratio that is used very often, but you can use it creatively if you want to shoot in 4:3, look a bit vintage. And it's perfect for anamorphic lenses because you can get much more information into your anamorphic films, so when you squeeze them, you're not cropping into the image, you're using the full sensor. I'm using it in a few creative different ways. I've stuck it in my menu, so when I do want to use it, I can choose from the custom menu. This is OpenGate, and I know I've got a little bit more wiggle room to use. Anyway, my first use for OpenGate. Capturing action that you cannot afford to miss. Let me set the scene. Da, da, da. Enter Jess. Jess is a hoop performer, amongst other things. She's incredibly talented and she was applying for a competition. So she did a beautiful routine and the whole thing had to be done in one take, so no cuts. You know, I could have played it safe and put something on a tripod and shot wide, but I thought that getting as close to the action as possible and adding a little bit of movement in with her would add to the performance and make it a little bit more polished and a little bit more cool. However, because we had to do it all in one take, if she did something unexpected and a limb went out of frame or whatever, then that's on me. I've filmed wrong and I should be ashamed. So with OpenGate, it gives you a little bit more wiggle room in the vertical parts of the frame, much like when you're shooting photography on Micro Four Thirds. This has saved the bacon for me so many times if something's just out of frame and you can just pull it back in. So could I have shot wider and just played it safe? Yes, but as I say, I wanted to get into the action. And what this meant was, if she did something unexpected, like this, I mean, how ridiculous is that? How cool does that look? And her toes went out of frame. I know that in reality they've not gone out of frame because I'm shooting in a wider format than usual. And then in editing, all I need to do is just keyframe down a bit with her, keyframe back up, and it all looks very smooth to the viewer and all of the limbs are in frame. One thing I will say about OpenGate is always shoot with guide markers on. Just because it's so easy to frame in a 4:3 ratio, but then you almost end up being too close to the subject and you end up cropping things out when you convert it to 16:9. So keep your guidelines on and try and keep everything within that frame, but then you know you've got a little bit of wiggle room up and down if limbs fly out of frame. Number 2, and this is probably more applicable to more people, and it's if you want your deliverables to be in different ratios. So if you shoot something for a client and they want it in 16:9, but then they want some vertical stories, OpenGate has got your back. I did this recently for an advertising campaign for iPhotography. They help beginner photographers, they're awesome. And I've done 1 or 2 courses with them myself, they're super good. Anyway, I was doing the adverts for them and I knew that the deliverables at the end needed to be in 16:9 for the website and then 9:16 for the TikTok and Instagram. And so, OpenGate, you can compose your image as normal, but you have more headroom above and below. And the benefit of this is immense, because when you're cropping in and reframing for your TikTok or your stories, you're not losing resolution, you're not having this claustrophobic sort of composition because you've got more headroom to play with. So you are effectively filming something once, but then knowing that you can recompose it in 2 separate ways in post. Absolute game changer. I mean, the only other option would be to film the same thing twice, which is twice as time consuming, twice as expensive for the client, and you get basically the same results anyway. So with OpenGate, you can convert things to vertical stuff without having too much thought or effort into it. Also, as part of this job, we did a really cool one-shot take where it was just to show how fun and cool the company is and how they run their business. So it was a one take on my gimbal where I came into the room and I shown all of the different photography tutors, and then we went into the back office and saw all the admin people, and it was dead good fun. However, because of the nature of it being a one-shot, quite like with Jess, if I messed up slightly and knocked something out of the bottom of the frame, that would effectively mean the whole take was ruined. But not with OpenGate. This meant that, you know, if I did mess up, it was recoverable because you've got more real estate at the top and the bottom of your frame. So we did it. It was dead fun, actually. We did a little bit of a choreography, and it was a seamless transition as I go into the door and then into the other room. And then we had a person behind the door who had to open the door for me. So it's like, welcome into the office. And then they had to run behind me while I was doing this business and then sit at a laptop and look like nothing had happened. It was really good fun and a really good learning experience. And OpenGate really did help, because some points the important stuff was at the extreme bottom or the extreme top of the frame, and I had wiggle room to sort of keyframe it around in editing. I love OpenGate. It's so nerdy and fun. And then 3, something that appeals to me as sometimes the polite way of putting it is under time constraints, and the less polite way of putting it is a little bit lazy. When I'm doing B-roll, do I A, set up my slider and my 2 tripods to balance the slider and then do all this fancy movement with the app for a 3-second clip? Or do I shoot in OpenGate, hold the camera blooming still for 10 seconds and add in very much the same movement in editing? So you can add in more movement in post-production using OpenGate. You can do this to an extent with your normal 16:9 footage, but if you're delivering in 4K and you're shooting 4K, every time you crop in, you're losing resolution. With the OpenGate, you can shoot in a higher resolution as well as having a higher aspect ratio. So when you are punching in, you're losing less resolution. And you do have obviously more movement to do vertical keyframing rather than just your traditional sort of left to right keyframing with your 16:9. So if you would like some super professional looking B-roll, don't look to this channel for that. Using OpenGate is a great way to sort of add professional looking slider shots effectively into your scene. And you can do this as well in real world scenarios. If you want to do an establishing shot, you can hold the camera still and then just add in a crane up and down, or left and right, or diagonally, whatever you fancy. So using OpenGate gives you much more information to get really nice movements within the scene. So those are the 3 ways I use OpenGate. Let me know in the comments if you can think of any more, because it's something that I really do fangirl over.